Imagine this. A little boy's voice rings out across a busy mall. And in one single second, two complete strangers freeze. Because the child just exposed a secret no one saw coming. What he says next? It will make your heart stop. Stay with me, you're about to witness something truly unbelievable. The moment the little boy's voice echoed through the atrium of the Washington Square Mall in Oregon, time seemed to stop. It was a normal Saturday morning. Fluorescent lights humming. Soft music floating from distant stores. The smell of cinnamon pretzels drifting through the air. Yet for Nathan Collins, the world narrowed into a single point. When his son tugged hard on his hand and pointed to the woman standing just a few feet away. There she was, frozen mid-step. A soft leather purse hanging from her elbow. And inside it, visible through the slightly open flap, a small framed photo of his own face. Before I tell you why this stranger was carrying his picture, hit that like button right now. If you believe some moments in life are simply meant to be. Nathan felt his pulse thunder in his ears. He blinked, convinced his eyes were playing tricks. But no, there was his picture. Unmistakable. The exact headshot he had taken years earlier. For the local community volunteer page. But why would a complete stranger be carrying it? And why was she staring at him? As if she'd just seen a ghost rising out of sunlight? The woman, Ava Thompson, slowly closed her purse. Almost protectively. As if guarding a secret too fragile to expose. She wore a camel-colored coat. Soft waves of chestnut hair. And an expression that balanced between surprise and something that might have been hope. There was a tremble in her fingers. A flicker of hesitation in her steps. The moment held them all in suspension. 3 strangers. And 1 little boy. Unknowingly linking their lives. In a single breath. Nathan wasn't the kind of man easily shaken. He was a former firefighter. Who had seen flames swallow houses. And had held trembling hands of victims. But this was different. This was personal. In a way he didn't yet understand. His life had been simple these last few years. Get up. Work at the construction firm. Pick up his son Ethan from preschool. Make dinner. Go to bed. Since the divorce, he had learned to shrink his world into manageable pieces. Everything outside that small orbit felt like risk. And he had stopped taking risks long ago. But now he stood before a woman who looked at him as though he were someone she had been searching for. Someone important. Ethan tugged his hand again. Impatient this time. Repeating the sentence that shattered the thin veil of silence around them. Daddy, that's the lady who keeps your picture in her bag. I saw it. Nathan felt heat rush to his face. Ava's breath caught audibly. And she took a tentative step forward. It was an embarrassment that flooded her expression. It was something gentler. Something deeper. An emotion anchored in a story Nathan had yet to hear. The mall around them continued its usual rhythm. Shoppers. Laughter. Escalators humming their mechanical ascent. But the 3 of them stood in their own quiet pocket of the universe. Something was about to shift. And Nathan sensed it. The way one senses the start of a storm. Long before the sky begins to darken. Ava finally spoke. Not with words, but through her eyes. They held a softness that suggested broken pieces carefully stitched back together. For a moment, Nathan felt as if he already knew her. Not from a memory, but from the quiet familiarity of someone who had walked through her own shadows. Nathan cleared his throat, unsure where to begin. But the moment he opened his mouth to speak, she looked away, as if gathering courage that had eluded her until now. And then she began to walk. Slowly, hesitantly, toward the seating area off to the side, silently inviting him to follow. Something inside him told him he needed to hear whatever she came to say. Something inside him whispered That this moment wasn't an accident. He followed her. Ethan skipped beside him, blissfully unaware of the emotional tornado forming overhead. They sat on the bench, and Ava perched across from them, her purse resting beside her, like a fragile container of secrets. When she finally spoke, her voice was gentle, but carried the weight of years. She told him she used to work as a nurse in the oncology ward at St. Helena Medical Center. Nathan felt his body stiffen. He knew that place all too well. His late sister, Megan, had fought her battle with cancer there, before passing 3 years earlier. The wound, though, still pulled painfully when touched. Ava saw that shift in him, and softened her tone. She said she had taken care of Megan during the final months. That Megan had spent countless nights talking about her older brother, saying how strong he was, how he had raised her after their parents passed, how he would give anything for the people he loved, how he deserved someone who saw him for who he truly was. Nathan swallowed hard. His sister had been the heart of his world. Hearing her name spoken by a stranger stirred emotions he had kept buried. Ava continued. Megan had given her that picture, the one now resting in her purse. The night before she passed, she had whispered that if Ava ever felt lost in her own life, she should look at the photo and remember the man who embodied resilience and kindness. A reminder that good people existed, that hope had a face. Ava wiped a tear discreetly. She said she had gone through her own storm. Divorce, heartbreak, losing a pregnancy. And Megan's words had carried her. She had kept the picture all this time. Not because she expected to find Nathan, but because it reminded her that light still existed somewhere in the world. Nathan felt his throat tighten. He had never heard this piece of his sister's story. She had always been the one giving hope to others, even when she herself was slipping away. But something else weighed in Ava's voice. More than grief. More than memory. She admitted she sometimes visited the places Megan had mentioned. The coffee shop she loved. The walking trail she described. Hoping maybe one day she would see the brother she admired so deeply. Not because she expected anything, but because she wanted to tell him thank you. To tell him that his sister, even in her pain, had inspired someone else to keep going. Nathan didn't speak. Couldn't speak. His heart had become a heavy, trembling thing in his chest. This woman, this stranger, had carried a piece of his sister's love through her darkest nights. And now she stood before him, with that same love shining in her eyes. The moment stretched gently between them. Not awkward, not rushed. Just a soft understanding bridging their two worlds. Ethan climbed onto Nathan's lap, resting his head on his father's shoulder, sensing in his innocent way that his daddy needed him close. Nathan wrapped an arm around his son, grounding himself. For years, he had kept his heart guarded, refusing to let anyone in. But something about Ava, her story, her sincerity, her connection to Megan, felt like a door gently opening. Ava looked at Ethan and smiled softly. She said Megan had talked about him too, even though she never got to meet him. She had hoped Nathan would find happiness, stability, love. She had wanted him to have someone who would care for his little boy with the same fierce devotion he had shown her all her life. Nathan closed his eyes for a moment. He hadn't expected this day. He hadn't expected this woman. He hadn't expected his sister's love to echo back to him in such a profound, unexpected way. But life, he realized, had its own quiet way of stitching broken hearts together. For the next hour they talked, not in rushed words, but in gentle unfolding. Ava shared stories of Megan's laughter, her stubbornness, her late-night confessions. Nathan shared memories of their childhood, their struggles, their dreams. With each passing minute, something delicate grew between them. Not romance? Not yet. But connection. Real human connection. Ava admitted she felt guilty, carrying the picture sometimes, as if she'd been clinging to someone she had never truly met. Nathan surprised himself by telling her he wasn't upset. If anything, he was grateful. It felt like Megan had left a final gift. Someone who understood pieces of his heart. Before he had even spoken them, people drifted in and out of the mall around them. But the three of them remained in their quiet bubble, sharing pieces of themselves, like fragile shards of stained glass, forming a mosaic. When it was time to leave, Ava stood slowly. Nathan felt a tug of reluctance he hadn't felt in years. She reached into her purse and pulled out the framed picture. She held it out to him with both hands, her voice trembling, as she said she felt it was finally time to return it to its rightful owner. But Nathan gently closed her fingers around the frame. He told her Megan had given it to her for a reason. And maybe that reason wasn't finished yet. Ava's breath shivered at that. Something hopeful flickered in her eyes. Ethan tugged Nathan's sleeve and whispered loudly enough for both adults to hear that he liked her, that she seemed nice. Ava laughed softly, and Nathan felt warmth bloom in his chest. They exchanged numbers. Not forced, not rushed, just naturally, as if the universe itself had nudged their hands together. As Ava walked away, she looked back once, offering a quiet, grateful smile. A smile that said this wasn't goodbye. Nathan squeezed Ethan's hand gently, feeling something inside him settle. Something old had closed. Something new had begun. Months later, Nathan would look back on that day as the one that changed everything. The day a simple photo, carried through grief and hope, opened the door to healing, to companionship, to love he never thought he'd deserve again. But for now, in that bright mall hallway, he simply whispered a thank you. To Megan, to fate, to the gentle grace woven through unexpected moments. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, comment, and subscribe.